Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and I had a little chance to show you something today. It's kind of a rangy looking day, but we had this little channel working down here earlier that I saw, and we broke it here. We tried to go lower and we couldn't get it. We made another leg up. There was an overnight gap right there, and now we're headed down to try to make a new low. We hadn't quite made a new low. That may be all we get. But what I'm looking for is you see that measured move right there. I'm looking for this leg to be similar and that to probably be our new low. So this setup, I've already had a good trading day. I almost really already met my target already, and it's 9:30. So shows you what a good trading day it's been. There's been some good trades this morning, and it was a little choppy right in here, but this last move right here was beautiful because you got a chance to get on here and then add on here, and I added another one right here. So I had three sets working down. um, we didn't quite get our new low that I was looking for, but I was able to scalp out of all of those and exited my runners when we came back up and started to take out this high right here. Actually, we did take out that high, but I'm still looking for one more leg down here, and we'll see what happens. But I just thought I would show you this. This is the kind of thing I look at, and this is what I use to figure out when this move is over. Notice that we had this move up, and then we had a break of a trend line, but we never had a retest. So it made it, once we got down to here, it made it really risky. And then there was a failed second entry short. This was a great long right here too, where you got some runners. And I'm tempted to trade this right here, looking for this new low. And I may just drop a limit order in here and see what I can do with it if it triggers. It's it's a fairly bearish bar, but it's an inside bar. It's not the prettiest, but that's a two-legged move up. This will be a second entry short. I'm really tempted to take this, see if it triggers and what it does, and maybe I'll just drop a limit order in there and see if I could get filled on it. But now that ended as a doji, so maybe we'll break above that and create a little double top and then turn down. That would be sweet. I like those traps. And somebody asked me about a trap this morning. They thought a trap was just simply a little break lower like that and then a move higher. A trap is anything that fools a lot of people into going in the wrong direction. Right here, you got a failed second entry long when the market's been coming down. That's a short trap. What happened was a lot of people got trapped to the short side right there, and then it rocketed up, and that's why it kind of explodes up. I think there was a little bit of a news item there too. I can't remember what it was, but let's see if we can get filled on this right here. Maybe being too aggressive with it, but I don't want to get in if I can't get a really good entry because I've already hit my target today. But I'm looking for this target right here. We may not get that, but we should get a new low here at the very least is what I'm thinking. But that's how I look for my target. Somebody mentioned to me the other day how much that has helped them in staying with their trade. So I thought I would mention that and show you that. It just kind of showed up and see, and I shouldn't have been so aggressive. I guess I should have just, if I hadn't met my target, I probably would have entered that on a stop. And we might could still drop a limit order in here and get filled. But we're finding there's strong support across there. Hopefully you can see that. And I probably should put a line across there because we're bouncing there again. You can see that is strong support right across there. And we're bouncing off that every time. And we just may not get through there. I don't know whether I want to go short here now still or not. Let's see what happens here first. If we get a little trap and then turn back down, maybe. But a lot of times when you really keep struggling here, they'll eventually give it up and they'll run it back to the higher side. And there's probably some resistance. I'm going to call it that right there. So we may end up in a range and just go to the other side. We may not make this new low, but it looks like they're trying to trap them right here. We'll see what happens. But now you don't have a lot of room left between here and what I think is, and maybe that's probably the low. But we bounced a bunch of times right there too, so I'm gonna leave it right there for now. And it doesn't leave you a lot of room, but if you get on through here, I still think this is where we're probably headed. But at the same time, the fact that we've got all this support across here, it just wouldn't surprise me if we can't get through there and we go back to the other side and it just ends up being a range. But I thought I would show you this, and then when we get done with this right here, I'll probably just halt it and show you, go ahead and add the trades and show you the trades I saw today and talk about them. And I'll be done early again today. Hopefully you enjoyed the trade example yesterday. I know it was boring, but I edited out probably 30 minutes of that thing, believe it or not, because that's how long it just sat there and did nothing. And there was an issue yesterday, something with the options, Chicago Board of Options Exchange. They had some kind of computer error, and I don't know that that should have affected the ES very much, but there are a lot of hedge funds that trade the ES, and a lot of times their strategies include options, so maybe they weren't, maybe the volume was light because of that. It's hard to say, but you know, it just seemed like the volume just dried up for a little while there from about 10 to noon, and I can't even remember what happened in the afternoon. Yeah, we ended up having this sell-off here. So it was kind of an interesting day. Okay, sorry, I had a little interruption there, so step away just a second. Looks like we're still trying to get lower here, but hopefully you see this is the kind of thing I'm looking at. This is where I'm looking for this target, and so we did have our break, and we've got to move to a new low. We don't have a new low there yet, though, and we made a lower high here, but they're really struggling to get through here, so at this point, I don't think it would be worth risking a trade short here, but I still think there's a good chance we could end up down here. But at the same time, if we can't get through this support area right here, we're going to go higher. So you just got to see what happens. And sometimes it just takes them a little while to work through. And about the only clue you can find is if you keep making lower highs and lower lows. But we got a little bit higher high here, and we may make another higher high after this little triple bottom. So now you can see how the EMA is flattening out there. So you know, I just don't know if we're going to get down here and meet this target or not, but that's what I'm looking for, and that's what held me into this trade coming down, and that's why I added on here. That's a beautiful reversal kind of, and that's kind of the trend line right there. It's amazing how that was the line from there, and then you move it over here, and you can see this move looks very similar, and look how this even looks a lot like that. So doesn't mean we won't still go down there. They may want to trap some people first. But a lot of smart traders will just not go short right down there because there's not much room to do anything right here. So they'll let it ride higher and then they'll turn it back down again. So we'll see if that's what happens, but wouldn't surprise me at all now if we go all the way to the top side. But really you had a little trend line working right up through there. We've broke it. Now we've got a new high, so that may allow us to come on down too. And you see right here, we had this trend line. We broke it. There's your new high. Had this trend line running down, we broke it. We've got a low. It's not a new one, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a new low before it's over. Same thing right here. You really could have followed that little trend down. We got the break and then a new low, and then that's when it took off. I thought there was a bigger channel, and I really think there is here because we broke it here. We went to a new high, and then we came back down, and we're still trying to work on that retest from this bigger channel. So, and then also we've got a big trading range kind of going on here, and you can see. Here's a good example of how you know it's a trading range day. Look how prices are all over both sides of the EMA. You know, it's not consistently going in any one direction. Look at it here, how they're all pointing, how the EMA is pointing down, everything's below. You're trending down here, and then we kind of go into this on both sides, and we're still working lower, but we're on both sides of it. Here we go, we're headed lower again. So it's a little different from what we usually do, but this is important stuff that I think will help traders. And there's been a couple other questions. And let me talk about tick charts real quick. Well, every day somebody sends me an email about tick charts. So it's, I'm having to answer the same question over and over. And I'm not complaining. Don't take that the wrong way. But since I'm getting so many questions, I'm going to start mentioning it. Tick charts are not static, like time-based charts. So no two tick charts are going to look the same. Even if you got the same data provider, the same NinjaTrader chart, your tick charts are probably not going to look like mine. That's just the way tick charts are. So if your bars don't look the same, don't be too concerned about it. As long as your patterns look like this and you got the same amount of bars, you're good to go. That's the best you can ask for. I could refresh my chart right now and my bars would probably change. So just the fact that your bars don't look the same as mine doesn't mean that you can't trade it the same way. Some of the trades may look better on my chart. Some of them will probably look better on your chart. But that's just the way it goes. So don't be concerned if you're looking at your tick chart and it doesn't look the same as mine. Now, if it looks completely different, which it can because there's some data providers that have horrible tick data, then you might want to be concerned. But if you've got about the same amount of bars and the patterns look the same, but just your bars are different, then don't be concerned. That's the best you can ask for. It's just the nature of tick charts. People ask me all the time, why do you want to use tick charts? Well, open a 5-minute chart and then open a tick chart like mine and look at the difference. You can see so many more details in the price action. We're price action traders, so we need to see all the details we can see. You can still trade these same strategies with time-based charts, but I like tick charts because it allows you to see so much more of the data. And you see we made a little higher low there. We got higher highs and higher lows here. It's more of a trading range kind of deal here. This is just really strong support here, and they're struggling to get through it. So I believe that short right there would have worked. If you'd entered on a stop, you'd have been in at 77.25. And guess what? You got just enough to get out. Amazing how that works, huh? That's why we scalp for 4 ticks, because it's just a common scalp that prices tend to get it most of the time if you're reading the price action right and taking the setups. And that is a second entry short right there. You got your new low, first entry. Actually, this was a second entry short, but it wasn't a given. But on a bigger picture, if you looked at a slightly bigger chart, you wouldn't see that little one tick there, and that's first entry and then second entry. So, and guess what? They filled that gap right there, and we might go lower again now. Those gaps tend to get filled pretty quickly. We still got one right here. They've tried to fill it, and that might have been what they were going for here. You see they got really close, couldn't quite get it, and now we're trying to turn down again. This one's kind of like yesterday. We may still end up getting this low, but they're going to have to really fight to get it, kind of like my trade yesterday. I knew they were going to test that little support area across there, but they had to fight to get it down there. And then it actually, where was that trade? It was right in here, I do believe, yep. And they finally got it down there, and look, they got that one tick trap, and then boom, they ran it to another high, and then it sold off. So pretty typical of the way it works. And that's why I'm always telling you, don't trade breakouts, because guess what would have happened if you went short right there at that low on that double bottom? And there's a double bottom across there. You can see it right there, and you can see the one little tick right there. And you'd be surprised at how many traders will get short right there. And guess what? They're trapped on the wrong side of the market, and then they reverse it, and they hit all those stops. And this is where they really, a lot of them held on to right there. But then when that turned up, they got the rest of them. They ran it to a new high, and then guess what? It goes right where everybody thought it was going to go, back down here. So you got to learn the language of the charts. You got to understand what they're doing. And they love to trap you on the wrong side, just like right up here. They trapped look at that. They had that, let me get this out of the way. They had that big move up, and that catches the eye of all the weak traders that think, oh, I missed that, when you should have been entering right down here. And then they see it try to correct, and they see that nice bullish bar again. They think, oh, I'm not missing this next move, and they get in right there. If it breaks above that, I'm going long, and guess what? They're they're long at the very high before it rockets lower. And that's typical. That's why we don't buy breaks to new highs and breaks to new lows unless the market is trending strongly and just keeps going and everything's below the EMA, or it keeps trending higher and everything's above the EMA, like this right here. You can always find, even here we had a short-term trend line yesterday and then it broke it, ran to a new high and sold off. This stuff works. It's, you have to, people have a hard time trusting it because it just seems too easy sometimes, and either that or they just don't quite understand what they're trying to do. They're not reading it just right, or they don't quite understand what we're doing. But I got a new version of NinjaTrader that came out, and I usually don't upgrade for a few days. And look, we had that trend line coming down right. It's really right there. We had the break right there, and guess what? It moved to a new low, and then it corrected. And then you had a little, this is late in the afternoon, so I just show you how this stuff works. Then you had that little trend line of break, and they tried to move to a new high. Draw your short-term trend lines because it will help you. It will definitely help you. But you see, even right here, you had this little trend line, you got a break, you move to a new high, and then it tried to just sell off again. And I still think we're coming down here, and we may only get one tick, or we may bounce right here yet again, but they're trying to get this new low in. And if you didn't know about how measured moves work, you may not understand what they're trying, and you'd think they're trying to take it up, and you're trying to get long on every one of these moves. Of course, this was a nice short trap right here, so you could have gotten a nice scalp out of that, but I wouldn't have taken it because there's too big a chance it ticks one tick higher and then falls. But it's there, and if you'd have taken it, it works. It worked. But that's the only time you really want to be taking a long is if you can get in way down here at the low on a little trap or something, or a little small bar where you can have a tiny stop. And see, and even though that's you're getting you in at the low, you really didn't have a tiny stop because your stop has to go down here. And, so you got at least a point or more stop right there. And I like to keep mine 2 ticks below it because a lot of times they'll get that. See, if you'd had a 1 tick stop right there, if you got long right there, you got stopped out. But if you kept it at 2, guess what? You would have still got your scalp because it only went 1 tick. They love to do that. They take it 1 tick and they trap you. But don't be confused because of that 1 tick. That's not the only kind of trap. A trap is any kind of move that surprises, and a lot of traders and fools them, and they enter and they end up on the wrong side of the market. This is a short. This is a trap. This is a second entry short. Look, we're moving down. You got your new low, first entry short, second entry short, and then they turn it up. That's a short trap. A lot of people took that second entry short. It's not a very good setup. As you see, we had a little congestion. It broke out. It snapped back, and then it's a breakout pullback long. And they take it straight up, and they just trapped a lot of people right there to the short side, because people were thinking they were heading lower. And then they run it up to a new high, and then it sells off. And so here we go. We're still heading lower. We're getting about 18 minutes in here. It's not too bad. I'm going to let this go a little bit longer. We're going to see if we get this new low. And then I'm going to pause it just a minute, put the trades on there, and talk about them. What I saw, there's not a whole lot in here, but they were the ones that were there. And here we go. And you just had to ride this out. And see, again, we're still struggling to get through that. There's strong support there. But when they get it through, it's probably going to drop on down. We'll see. But hopefully you see why you weren't trying to go long there, because you're looking for this new low based on the rules. Now, if it bounces out of here enough and then you start to get, it starts trending higher, but it hadn't done that. It was trending higher here, but then you already got a break. So you wait till it's trending higher. Notice this one was trending higher, but, you had a bigger channel, and you did have room to get. And there's a failed second entry short there, so you had room to go long and get out before here. So that was a possible long there, but I wouldn't have taken it in all that chop there. unless you really know what you're doing. But it is a trap, and it's worth taking if you want it, if you're aggressive. So, but this one right here, look at that big bearish bar. I guarantee you a dozen. There ain't no telling how many traders got short right there and then got stopped out, and it'll end up going right down here where they thought it was going to go to begin with. And see, they're still working it lower. I'm looking for it to go right in here. And sometimes it'll come up a little short, and sometimes it'll go past it. So you never know. But this would be your target, maybe a tick or two above that low right there if you were still in. I exited all my stuff, so I'm done. I didn't want to ride this pullback out here. I really wish I'd have entered in here, or maybe even here now. And I think you would have already had your scalp right here, so they may bounce it again. If you entered one tick below, you were in at 76 and a quarter. And look at there, they got just enough to get your 4 ticks, and now it's bouncing again. You'll see that over and over and over. But that's why you can't get in a tick. That's one thing I find that people, I've had people contact me and say, I take every one of the same trades you do, but they're losers. And I said, well, mark your trades and send it to me, and I'll look and I'll see if I can figure out what you're doing wrong. And they're not entered, they'll see the break here, but they don't enter till down here. Well, it's too late, because this is designed to enter no more than 1 tick below the trigger. That's your signal bar to go short on this little trade right here. So you can't enter any lower than 1 tick there. In fact, you might try to drop a limit order and get a little extra room to play with it. But you can't enter any lower than 1 tick, because if you do, you would be stuck right now. It might still work, but it wouldn't have worked here, and it wouldn't have worked over here. You would have got trapped, and it would have bounced. I mean, if you want to hold through all that, that's great. It would have worked, but you never know when it's going to do this, and you don't want to hold through a big move like that, because it might rocket out and go the other way. So you got to follow the rules that's the one thing I will say, since I'm just talking today, really, is don't try to tweak our rules. I mean, we've got this down to a science. It works if you use the rules and you trade it right. Now, guess what? Do we have a new low, or do we just still have we got a double bottom? We're going to have a new low here in a minute. I'm pretty confident. I feel pretty confident that we probably will. But don't tweak the rules. Don't try to take what we teach and add it to something else, because I think you'll find out that you'll just make mistakes and you'll lose money, and you'll think, oh, well, that system doesn't work. But we got it down to a science. It works. Trust me, it works, and it works well. And if you follow the rules, if you want to make money, you got to follow the rules, and you got to learn it first. And then you got to learn the rules, and you got to learn to follow them. We still ain't got that new low. We still need another. It's good enough for this little move here. So that may be all we get, because notice we got the break, a little double top trap, and then we move to a new low off of that little trend line right there. So we may have enough, but now they may have trapped them right here, and we may run on down. Let's see what happens, and I'm going to wrap this video up. If it starts bouncing here, I'll probably just stop it and see. And by the time we get through, actually, that's what I'm going to pause this thing. I'm going to put the trades on here that I saw and the ones I took today, and then I'll be back in a minute, and maybe we'll see if we've gone lower or if we're rocketing out of here. So, okay, let's talk about the trades. You notice we still hadn't made a new low here. We've pulled back to the EMA. We had a little break lower, maybe a trap, and we're trying to go higher. But notice how prices got back inside here. Now for the moment that's holding, but this is why you don't sneak in, because they'll trick you. And you notice it looked like it was about to break higher, and now all of a sudden now you got a little 2-bar matching high, so we may turn back down and go lower still. So that's why you don't try to sneak in when those bars look really good, because they'll fool you. And I mean, it waited till like the last tick or two before that bar completed, and then all of a sudden it went from the very high down, dropped 2 ticks. So there was some hard selling there right before it closed, and now it's trying to go lower again. And you notice there's quite a bit of trades in here today. It's been a really good trading day. bar don't look right there for some reason. I mean, that circle, but so we'll see if we end up getting this low down here before this is over. I'm thinking we probably still will. But let's talk about the trades. When I came in, this was the first trade I saw. There was a little trap here. Notice that we came off that low. We went up. We had a first entry short. Then we ticked higher. Notice this bar right here. We ticked above it first and closed and went out it on the very other side. What I did was use a limit order. It got filled and it dropped really quickly. It bounced fast, but you were in and out of that trade really, really fast. Quick scalp, no runners there. I did already have this line on here, so I just scalped out in full on this one because I didn't think it was going to go as far down as it did. I really just thought we were going to come down here. And I didn't have this line here yet at all because we were trending down kind of at that point. And so nice scalp, and then all of a sudden, nice trade right there. Then we got a failed second entry short here, but this was a little bit aggressive to go long here, but there is a trap. You did have a possible trend line, and it set up pretty good, and it worked. And again, it fits our criteria for a trap. I was hesitant to mention it or mark it. I took it, so I think it was just a little more aggressive trade, but I liked it, and it worked out great. And then you had a chance to go short here. You had a lot of overlap here, but you're looking for the retest. And then when this bar completed, I used it for the signal bar, and this one didn't break below it, so I was hesitant to take this one when it didn't break below till here. But again, what I did was just use a limit order, and I didn't put it back in the bar this time. I just put it one tick back here, and I got filled, and it gets just enough basically. Even if you'd enter on a stop, you still got your scalp. And then when we bounced right here, notice all this overlap. That's congestion. This is really congestion too. And, people always ask me, I know that's really confusing. When do you enter in congestion? When do you not? And when you don't want to enter, when it's really questionable is when it's all in the middle. If it's at real highs or at real lows, a lot of times it's a good trade. But you usually want a trap like, let me just find one. Like there's some congestion right here. Notice that little trap lower. And I started to mark that trade too because it would have worked. And it was coming off these lows that have bounced many times. So there was a trade. I'm just going to go ahead and put a circle around it. It's just it's a lot more aggressive trade, but you see it worked. And but anyway, on that congestion, you never really know. And so if you're not sure, just skip it. But when it is okay is when it's a place you're looking for a turn and it starts congesting there because the buyers are drying up and more people are starting to sell. And generally, you need a second entry. And that didn't come till down here. I like the better ones when the second entry is up here a little bit higher. But generally, if you're getting a better second entry than you are first entry, it's suspect. And that's like right here. Notice the first entry is down here, and then you come way up here and you get a second entry, and it's not even a good bar. That's suspect. And notice what happened. They trapped everybody, and they ran it back to the other side. So a nice long right there. And that's the only reason we went long right there was because it's a failed second entry short when we're looking for prices to go lower. So a lot of people get trapped right there. And they run it up and they hit the stops and it just rockets up real quick. And again, there was some news in there. I think it was right here. I can't remember where it was. I think it was right in here. There was a news item. Just look, 8:55. Yeah. So that's right in there. And so there was a news item in there. So you may not have traded that because of that, but it's not a big news item, but it did make the market move pretty quick right there. So you may not have taken that trade, but when you get a trap like that, you just can't hardly ignore it. So, and here's another congestion. Look how this is in the middle. It's not at a low or at a high. This one's suspect. It is near the EMA, so it wouldn't surprise me if you get a little trap here and then go lower, then it's okay, but don't enter in the middle of all this stuff. So, then you got a chance to go short up here. Again, it's better to wait on a second entry. Especially since we made a lower high or higher low and a higher high here. But if you're aggressive, you can't ignore a trade like that. It's right up here at these former highs. You can see that. And it turns straight down. And it is a range type day. And generally on range days, you can fade every new high and every new low. So if we get a new low down here, it's probably a good trade to fade. Right now, all this stuff is here. But by the time we started working down here, I had that line right there. That's where you get the most touches and closes across there. Of course, we work lower, and that's changed now. But anyway, I drew this one in green. It's more aggressive. I think most traders should wait on the second entry. You got a chance second entry. That's a nice bearish reversal bar. If you did anything other than a stop here, you didn't get in this trade. And I actually almost put a limit order in there, and I said, you know what, that thing moves really fast. And I was looking for the new low, still looking for the new low maybe. And so I figured this was going to run on down. It did run pretty quick, but of course it found resistance on down here. But it pulled back again right here. This is where I had the line. It kind of pulled back. It got below it, pulled back. So that's kind of a breakout pullback short for this support, this little double bottom right here. And again, if you used anything but a stop order, if you use a limit order, it did come back, but by the time it went down here and pulled back, I wouldn't have entered on a limit order. So I just dropped another stop in there, and I held all of these trades all the way down and exited when we created that little doji right there. I exited all my runners. I believe that's where I exited. I might have exited them on that doji. It was one of these dojis, but I think it was this new low right here because it was lower than that low, and I think on that form, that's where I exited all those runners. But this little move right here made me a ton of money, so that was what I really got most of my target today. And then we talked about this one. You had this little trend line of break, a run up here to a new high, and then that doji. You could have used a limit order here. You wouldn't have got more than right there where the bar ended, but you know, I use limit orders a lot, but the problem with using them, when I like to use them, are on trades like this one right here, or this one right here, or maybe right here. When you've got a smooth, a clean move, and a big bearish or big bullish reversal bar, if you use them, you're going to miss a lot of trades. So, be careful trying to use them. Just use your stops, and if you see something like this and you think you want to try to risk it, then use a limit order, because then you get in with a tiny stop. If you dropped a limit order even right there at the low, or maybe one tick, and if you tried 2 ticks into it, and you might have got filled, you might not have. Then you got 2 ticks and then a 2, so you can get a 2-tick stop up here with only 1 point, and that's the kind of stops you like to have. They're safe. You don't lose a lot of money if you're wrong. So, and the odds are we've had 2 legs up. You see that one leg? Oops. And then a second leg. So you've had your 2 legs up, and so then you're looking for another move down. I really was still looking for a new low, which I'm still looking for one. That may be all we're going to get right there, because it's just some strong support in here, and eventually a market that can't go lower will eventually go higher. But they may fight it on down here. They just may be having to fight it on down here, and we may end up breaking on through and trending down the rest of the day. You don't know that, but at this point, that was our target, and we've that's probably close enough, but you still see they're struggling to get it higher, and notice what would have happened if you would have entered right there going long. This is why you don't enter in this mess, because it's going to come back. Even if it's going to go higher, it's going to come back first most times. And my guess is they just trap some more people, and they'll use that to run it down another leg probably. And we may get another leg like that little leg right there. And let's just see if that'll put it down there where the other leg is. Say that's leg 1. And if they do break it lower, there's leg 2. And guess where that is? Right where the other leg. So that's what I'd probably be looking for now. We'll see what happens. Well, this has gotten into 34 minutes. I showed you the trades that I've seen. It's only 10:15. It's still really early. But it's been a really good trading day. And again, I've moved this down here now to right along there. That's where I think it is now. So, and this one, I would call this one probably right across there maybe. And these, because they'll move up or down a tick or two as time. What I like to do is find where you get the most touches across there and still holding the closes as well. In other words, see, I could use those that close right there and close right there. And you might even could drop it down to right there now because you get all your lowest touches and your last closes are inside that. So you may call it that one right now. But notice using that one, we got outside it, we got back in, and now that kind of area, actually they're really holding it right there across there. So, but anyway, looks like we're maybe heading to the other side. This may be all we're going to get on this low. We just have to see how it works out. But that's what I saw today. Been a good trading day. And these are the days I know a lot of people struggle on. But if you understand the rules and you know what you're looking for, you know, the reason we weren't real excited about going long up through here is because we're looking for the new low. And the reason we're not excited about getting long in here is we're still looking for the low based on even just this little trend line. And then coming up here, you got your break, your new high. Coming down here, you got your break, you've got a new low. And so that may be why we're coming on out of here. We might already be done with the retest on this channel, and this was just a retest on something else. But if you look at this big channel, we got the break, and it turned out to be 2 legs. And then, you know, I was looking for a target of down here, and I still wouldn't be surprised if we don't get it. We'll just have to see what happens. But again, you know, that may be as close as we're going to get, and we may go higher from here. So now you just got to follow the price action. I don't see any reason to be going long. I still don't see a good setup for a short either. Now you kind of got a little 2-legged move. You got to pull back, first entry, pull back. But if you get a second entry that's better than this first entry, it's probably suspect, especially with all that overlap. I mean, generally when you break out of there, it's going to come back and then maybe break out the low and then fail and maybe go higher. You just never, but it doesn't really usually rocket out of that stuff. It's because it's a trading range, and everybody's got their, you know, if it breaks higher, there's a lot of selling going on because people know it's going to come back. So know the rules and follow them, and it'll keep you on the right side of the market. Draw these little short-term trend lines. They're not always easy to see or find, but for the most part, these were all pretty standard, fairly easy to see. And you know, it was you know, this stuff, if you know what's going on, it's not too difficult to stay on the right side of the market, and that's the key. You don't want to get tricked. You want to know what you're expecting to happen, and then wait for the trick or the trap on the other direction, and then capitalize on that. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and today is Friday, April the 26th, if I didn't already tell you that. So won't see you again till Monday, but I hope you have a good weekend. Hope you've had a good trading week. It's been a great week, and we'll see you next time.